All right, I had a potential client reach out to me recently regarding the downtown condo market, and I want to touch on the perception that there's a condo meltdown in downtown Vancouver. I see it on social media platforms like X and TikTok. Before I get into this, I will not disclose anything personal about anybody that I would work with here. I owe you guys a duty of confidentiality, professional conduct. I would never disclose any personal information, but I will give you a real life story, what this guy's looking for. So he's got a budget of $800,000, not chump change, and he wants to get into a one bedroom condo, has to be over 600, preferably over 650 square feet. He wants a higher floor with parking. Now this would be in markets like Harbour, Yaletown, False Creek. Has to be a newer concrete building, okay, built since 2020, or if it's an older unit, it has to be fully renovated to a high standard. So now our options are starting to narrow here. Now he wants a bright white kitchen, and what I'm finding, a lot of these newer builds now and renovated units, they do these very dark color palettes in the kitchen. I don't know why. I actually get a lot of negative feedback on these. Lots of clients bring this up as an issue. But now our options are actually fairly limited. When we're looking into a good building, well-run strata, of course he wants the right floor plan and exposure. I would say there might be 6 or 7 units available right now downtown. You know, there's this narrative out there that there's a ton of inventory. I would argue high quality product priced correctly, there's actually not that much available. And another point here, I get many people reaching out on these one bedrooms downtown with a budget around $650,000. That ship has sailed here. You know, yes, you can get an older unit, but it'll be tired. It's going to need a full renovation. Or you might be able to get a newer studio unit without parking. That might be an option. Of course, downtown is very walkable. In a lot of cases, especially young people, they don't really need a car. But brand new, you're now looking at the mid 8s, low 9s. These one bedrooms are pushing up their newer builds up to the $1 million price point. But he did point out a new condo. This was quite nice, listed $799, but it did not have a dedicated parking stall. And he remarked that that's quite expensive for a unit without parking. So I showed him the sales history, and this sold in pre-sale for over $1.2 million. Now, he was shocked by that, and he took that as evidence that the condo market, downtown condo market, is tanking. So back in 2021, I go back and look, I was telling you guys that these pre-sale projects, at that point they were in pre-construction phase. They are spectacular, architecturally stunning, but I was saying they're overpriced, especially when you factor in the GST. You know, and that luxury, I was proven to be right, because that luxury pre-sale market has corrected significantly. But that is a microcosm, right? It's not indicative of the overall broader condo market here. Matter of fact, I told this guy now, $799 for a brand new unit, no parking. Probably not bad value though, because $799 is likely below, well, it's below the replacement cost. You cannot build and market a luxury one bedroom condo downtown for less than $1 million. So, and by the way, that's why a lot of these projects are being converted to rental now. So we're not going to have any more stratified condos in the pipeline at all. It's all going to be market rental, and there's going to be a shortage of stratified condos, shortage of supply, which of course is going to drive up the price going forward. So we discussed Metrotown as his second choice. Definitely in Metrotown, a lot more options are going to open up there. Metrotown, Brentwood, I was just there the other day, phenomenal. Burquitlam, there's a lot of brand new inventory. They've been building these massive projects, these master plan communities, and that's where the pro formas make sense for these developers. Burnaby is much more proactive in allowing density. It's a much more development-friendly environment out there. Beautiful units as well. Very high-end developers, high-end finishings, night and day. your money goes much, much further in a market like Metrotown than it would in downtown Vancouver. And the city is moving east. I remember an interview with Bob Rennie talking about this many, many years ago. City's moving east, and these markets are definitely the future. However, in the long run, I do think Vancouver may have a bit better long-term appreciation potential there, because Vancouver's special. It's always going to be special. We're landlocked. We're geographically constrained by oceans and mountains and the ALR. It's incredibly difficult to get anything built downtown. View corridor restrictions, they're talking about now maybe relaxing those. But if you go out to a market like, for instance, Coquitlam, I mean, these are massive, massive master plan communities. They're building entire cities out there. If you look at the plan for the city of Lougheed, I mean, that is a massive undertaking, far larger than Oak Ridge. I mean, these are massive projects. So there's always going to be more inventory. There's always going to be more selection for buyers. But when you do go to sell, I think you're going to have more competition potentially in the building. Whereas in Vancouver, your inventory is always going to be really, really tight. So there's pros and cons. That being said, I still see the capital appreciation in a market like Metrotown. Absolutely. I see massive upside potential as well in Surrey, Fraser Valley, because what I've always talked about here, I keep hammering on this, the CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, has been screaming at the top of its lungs about this, how we need 3.5 million new homes built by 2030, in addition to what we're already building, which is not going to get done. So for a lot of people, it's the old Wayne Gretzky quote here, that don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going to be. And that puck is definitely going to be moving east. Okay, so it's something to consider. Shifting gears a bit here, though, I have a lot of these people contacting me. They want to get into Vancouver, but they're waiting for prices to correct. Maybe they want to save a bit more for the down payment. That's fine. I'll keep you in my database. We'll keep in touch and maybe reconnect a year or two down the road. But in my experience, most of these guys, it's wishful thinking. Most market corrections, they might be 5-10%. Corrections here. They usually recover in a year or two anyway. Matter of fact, if you were waiting on a market correction, I think you already missed it here. But the reality is, saving more for the down payment, the reality is you cannot save fast enough, because in my experience, this market typically appreciates 3 times faster than what you can save. So in that situation, yes, maybe you're better to buy in a Metrotown, a Brentwood, a Coquitlam. Now you're building equity. Now, I'm a Vancouver guy. I, of course, will always steer clients towards a Yaletown or a Falls Creek. I'm here in Olympic Village. It's phenomenal, the amenities, the access. But, I've worked with a lot of first-time buyers and investors in markets like New West. When I started in this business, that was my kind of bread and butter. First-time young buyers, condos in New West. And that was a phenomenal opportunity, still is. My sister and brother-in-law, they wanted to be in Kitsilano. Everyone wants to be in Kitsilano. Half of my phone calls here are from somebody who wants to buy a home in Kitsilano. The problem is they can't qualify. Very challenging, especially with the current interest rate environment and the stress test. But getting back to my sister here, brother-in-law, they both make, I'm not privy to what they make and I wouldn't disclose it, but I will tell you, definitely well into the 6 figures. And even then, the reality is a 3-bedroom townhouse, unless you've got a massive down payment, it's not going to be in the cards in Kitsilano. You might be able to find a 2-bedroom condo, but I steered them into a great townhome in Morgan Heights, sort of South Surrey neighborhood. Nice neighborhood. I definitely don't see any transient activity out there, which is one of the strikes against downtown that we need to get a grasp on here. We need a change in government to make that happen. I don't see tent encampments. I see more young families. That market though, even that Morgan Heights area now, it's getting expensive. I see every driveway has got a BMW or a Mercedes or a Lexus. So this is why my advice has always been get in where you can, start building equity, get off the sidelines. If you're on the sidelines hoping for a market correction, my experience is when you do actually get a correction, like hypothetically, let's say the market comes down 5-10% in 2027. Are these guys going to pull the trigger? No, they're not. Most of them will not, because now you've got negative headlines. Unemployment is going to be spiking. Every headline is going to be that a recession is imminent. They will stay on the sidelines. Eventually, the market starts to pick up again. Now you missed your window. I've seen this so many times before. My client database here, I have thousands of these people that wanted to buy in, but they're going to wait on a correction. And then when the correction does come, they don't pull the trigger anyway. The reality is a lot of them are not going to qualify, but it's going to get harder. So right now the market is fairly balanced. We're leaning in some cases into more of a buyer's market. We were in talks about a rate cut, the next one being in September. That looks like it might be pushed forward now with the latest jobs numbers that just came out. We might get another cut in July. We'll see. But September for sure, and I think in the fall market, things are going to pick up. You're going to get a bit more competition. That's typically what happens. Summer is generally fairly slow. But just to recap, this perception that the downtown condo market is in a meltdown, I see it a lot on the social media. It's not. It's not. There's a lot of information out there that is just, it's just factually incorrect. So you got to be careful who you're following here. I'm Jay Coupar. Feel free to hit that green icon. Let's jump on a quick Zoom call, quick 15-minute consultation, and I'll see you in the next video.